I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you'll please rise. I have a very special guest this morning. I think for the first time in Mojave County history, we have a rabbi giving us our invocation, Rabbi Mendel Super from the Chabad Church out in Lake Havasu. Come on down. And then if Supervisor Lingenfelter will lead us in the pledge.
Honorable Chairman, Supervisors, ladies and gentlemen, Almighty God, we turn to you at a time of increased anger and division. People have difficult lives and look to the legislature to solve them and to bring them happiness. Let these elected representatives only pass the right laws, they think, and will no longer be miserable. But no legislature, no politician can do that. Even if the legislature were to make every decision they want, they'll still be unhappy because happiness only comes from you. You have ordained governments among people, but their function is only to secure the inalienable rights with which you have endowed us, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness itself they cannot provide. All they can do is remove the obstacles that lie in the way of its pursuit, and more importantly, take care not to erect new and greater obstacles. Nor can happiness come from the accumulation of material things. Wealth is your blessing, but its purpose is not to make people happy, but to free them to pursue it. Happiness can be found only in you. Be glad in God and rejoice, you righteous, and shout for joy, all who are upright in heart, the psalmist says. Happiness comes from finding our higher purpose, from discovering your image that you fixed within each of us, and living our daily lives in a way that expresses that image. Once we have done that, we can find joy no matter what obstacles life may thereafter throw in our paths. We ask you for that guidance. Guide our supervisors to do their job in good faith, and do whatever they can to ease our individual searches and not make them more difficult, and guide each of us to come toward you. Instruct us and teach us in the way which we should go. Counsel us with your eye upon us, and let your satisfaction be seen upon us. Let our hands' work be firmly established upon our own foundations. Let our hands' work be established by you. In 3 weeks from today, Jewish people around the world will be celebrating Passover, a commemoration of our freedom from bondage in Egypt more than 3,000 years ago. While we are fortunate and thankful to celebrate this holiday in a free country, unlike most of our history, we cannot forget our brothers and sisters in the Holy Land. Some 130 Jews and non-Jews, Israelis and Americans suffer in Hamas captivity, undergoing the worst conditions imaginable. We pray that in this season of freedom, you, Almighty God, bring them salvation with your outstretched arm as you did for our ancestors so long ago. Eradicate terror and evil from our midst, and bring peace upon your world once more. Amen.
Join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Rabbi, for traveling all this way. Okay, the Board of Supervisors may by motion recess in its executive session. I need a motion to call for an executive session to be held April 15, 2024 at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
It's a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Official business to come before the board. Mr. Esplin, discussion of pending or contemplated litigation, claims and demands.
Just one item, just briefly. There is pending before the court in the Federal District Court, Mojave County versus the United States Bureau of Reclamation. This involves the transfer of water rights from the Colorado River to the town of Queen Creek. We just want to note that recently the Arizona Attorney General issued a letter to the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona, the director there, questioning the WIFA loan that was involved as part of that transaction. Just want to make sure you're aware of that happened.
Very good. I'm sure we'll hear more about that later today. Okay, committee and/or legislative reports. Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The only thing I have today is the ongoing medical expense ticker for my great-granddaughter's vaccine injury. It's up to $225,000 so far in county. Thank you, ma'am.
Wow. Okay. Supervisor Johnson?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Supervisor Bishop?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I attended the County Supervisors Association meetings and also the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission meetings.
Very good. Supervisor Lingenfelter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those interested, the Mojave County Public Lands and Recreation Commission will have its first meeting this Thursday in this auditorium at 10 a.m. And hope to see everybody that's interested in attending that. Also, we were glad on the waterfront to see that letter from the AG's office questioning the appropriateness of using taxpayer funding to fund the water purchase, basically, or the water grab is what it is. So we look forward to seeing what happens at the next federal hearing. I believe that's in April, Mr. Esplin? Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. I too attended a CSA meeting, and I was also down at the legislature, and there's some very interesting, and I don't say that in a good way, bills that have been referred to the ballot, which I'm sure we'll be discussing in the next few months. So with that, we'll move on to, do we have a lobby report today? We do. Is Mr. Ponder on the phone?
Madam Chair, Supervisors, thank you again for the opportunity. Wanted to let you know it is the 85th day of the legislative session.
Excuse me, can we make this a little louder? Okay. Continue, Mr. Ponder.
Okay. It is the 85th day of legislative session today. I don't think it comes as any surprise to anybody that we will not be done in 100 days. Just some insight into what we are hearing, which is that they will be moving bills out of both chambers this week, and then after Thursday, the rumor is that they will be taking a 2-week break. With respect to the budget, there is apparently a wide gulf in what the anticipated revenues are, and so they're going to wait for the next Finance Advisory Committee meeting, which is on April 11th, and then potentially start having those budget conversations more in earnest after that. So just a bit of expectation for what's going to be happening here in the next few weeks. With respect to our issues, in particular on water, 2 weeks ago from tomorrow, there was a hearing on Senator Kerr's bill, Senate Bill 1221. There was a lot of testimony against her proposal. There was a handful of testimony in support of her proposal. The statement was made by Senator Kerr at the very beginning of the hearing that it is well past time that the legislature do something on rural groundwater. As you are all aware, we've been pursuing rural groundwater issues for the past 5 years, and so at the legislature at least. And so it's at least positive that there's an acknowledgement that we are beyond time to address it. The negotiations and conversations are going to be happening a little bit more in earnest, starting at the end of the day, I would say tomorrow and into the future. And we have been communicating with members in the legislature in both parties, as well as the governor's office, on some key priorities for Mojave County, based on all the conversations that we've had with each of you, as well as with Manager Elters and Mr. Walsh, to try and ensure that Mojave County's concerns are prioritized in this issue, considering that the county has been at the forefront of this for quite some time now. So as I hear more information, I will keep the Manager Elters apprised of those, and so that he can keep you all apprised. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Ponder? Supervisor Bishop?
Mr. Ponder mentioned conversations he's had with each of us. I just wanted to correct that. I don't think I remember having a conversation with Mr. Ponder.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it was mentioned that Mojave County has been seeking rural groundwater legislation for 5 years. It's actually been, I believe, 9 years, with Regina Cobb dropped her first legislation in 2016. And then every year after that, she dropped a bill. And then after she was out for the two preceding legislative sessions, we had Biasucci and Borelli dropping bills on our behalf too. So it's been 9 years. We've also been working very closely at the county with the city of Kingman, their public works director, Rob Owen, their vice mayor, and their lobbyist, and many others to make sure that those at the state capitol understand the negative impacts of the current version of Senate Bill 1221. We'll continue to work on that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ponder.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to change things around a little this morning. We have a proclamation, and it is to approve a proclamation declaring the month of April 2024 Fair Housing Month in Mojave County. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, before you get to the proclamation with the county manager report.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's
I
okay.
did. I skipped you, didn't
just
I?
have one
You're so
item.
quiet over there.
All right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. County manager's report.
Just one item to report to the board. At the last board meeting, board voted to procure for the medical examiner contract and asked for a timeline, so I wish to provide one to you today. We met last week with, internally, with the Sheriff's Department, the County Attorney's Office, Public Health, Procurement, and the Public Fiduciary to discuss the previous request for proposals as well as any updates and tweaks that need to be made. We're currently working on those, so the timeline is as follows. We will complete the changes and the updates by the end of this month. We will release the request for proposals on May 1st with a deadline for proposals to be submitted by June 4th. We will be reviewing those proposals and evaluating them in the month of June. We plan to have any negotiations necessary in early July, and our plan is to have to come to the board for award in the first board meeting in August, which would be 4 months before the expiration of the current contract. And I'll continue to update you as we go through that timeline toward the award. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Elters. And now we're going to go on to the proclamation.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I actually have not seen a copy of this, so I could read through it. Has anybody else seen a copy of this? I can't, in good conscience, vote on something I haven't read.
I do have it, I believe. Oh, no, I do have it. You want me to read it out loud?
Please.
Or do you want me to give it to you?
Um,
Or do you want to,
You should read it for the
could you
audience.
just read it? Yeah.
okay. Mojave County Fair Housing Proclamation. Whereas the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as the Federal Fair Housing Act and the Fair Housing Amendments Act 1988, prohibit discrimination in the sale, rental, leasing, and financing of housing or land to be used for the construction of housing or in the provision of brokerage services on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin. And whereas the 1986 and 1988 Fair Housing Acts declare that it is a national policy to ensure equal opportunities in housing, and whereas the principle of fair housing is not only embodied in national laws and policies, but is also the fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans, and whereas Mojave County adheres to the principles of fair housing and promotes civil rights of the people of Mojave County to be free from discrimination, and whereas it is contrary to the policy of Mojave County and unlawful to discriminate against any persons because of sex, race, color, creed, national origin, or ancestry in housing, and whereas April has traditionally been designated as Fair Housing Month in the United States, now therefore be it resolved that the Mojave County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim April as Fair Housing Month in Mojave County and does hereby urge all citizens of this community to comply with the letter and spirit of the Fair Housing Law.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
We have a motion. I need a second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carried. Oh, wait. Did you say, are you voting against it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 4-1 for this proclamation. I'm sorry for not waiting. Okay. All right, we're now going to go on to the consent agenda. The following items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion of said items unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and actions. And if you did sign up in the call to public to speak on one of these, you can come forward when the time comes up. So Supervisor Bishop, you have anything to pull?
No.
Supervisor Lingenfelter?
Item 12 and item 38.
12 and
38.
38. Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Item 25.
25. Supervisor Johnson?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Nothing this morning. And I want to do 36.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the consent minus 12, 25, 36, 38.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12. This is adoption of a Board of Super resolution setting forth a rezone in the Kingman vicinity.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I was the one that pulled that item. Wondering if the applicant is here to answer a couple of questions I might have. You want to come to the podium, please, sir? Thank you. And Terry, I see you're here from City of Kingman. You can come up as well if you'd like.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Chaz Berman, the Chief Executive Officer of Grower Secret.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm, I spoke to your Economic Development Director this morning before the meeting and made sure that the city, is this on city property, Terry?
Yes, it is.
And my only question would be as far as smells. When you talk about organic and fertilizer, it brings kind of...
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
So the odors that are emitted in manufacturing or in finished goods are negligible. The material that we use to produce the material is are plant-based, so they're soybeans. And so if you've ever just smelled sort of mild ramen soup, that would be the strongest scent you would get from the facility or the finished goods. And on top of that, we use no caustic materials, no acids, nothing acrid in the manufacture. There's negligible effluent, so the scents are going to be absolutely negligible.
Great. Terry, this is the question for Kingman Economic Development, just for my own curiosity. Have you, what sort of feedback have you gotten from your tenants out there? You have, 75 tenants out there now, industrial tenants at the park, as far as smells? I've heard people reach out to my office about the cannabis smells sometimes, but this isn't going to impact that negatively, right, out there as far as the...
No, it isn't, and we have not had any feedback whatsoever on it.
Okay, great. Thank you both. Appreciate that.
Very much.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 25. This is to accept an in-kind donation of $980 from the Arizona Economic Recovery Center at Local First Arizona to the Mojave County Department of Public Health.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm curious, what is the Arizona Economic Recovery Center at Local First Arizona?
Yes. Good morning, Supervisor Angus and Supervisor Gould, to answer your question. So it is a nonprofit organization that any government or nonprofit organization can apply to, and they will provide up to 4 services per year of writing a grant for you. And we were informed of this through economic development, various organizations. So you contact them. If you're qualified, then you submit, say, there's this grant. Would you help us write this grant? And then they assign someone to you. They write the grant up to submission. And then at that point, then they just provide how much the cost was with no cost to us. So,
Do you have any idea where they get the money to provide that service?
I do not. I'd have to see. I just know it's one of the economic, I don't know if it was from the state initiative or what it is, but I could look further into the background of the organization if you'd like.
That'd be good.
Okay, thank you.
Want to make a motion?
Let's hold off and let them bring back where they get the money from.
Oh.
Gonna move along.
Okay. Item 36, which is the canvass of the March 19th, 2024 presidential preference election. And to adopt Board of Supervisor Resolution 2024-059. I took this out. Is there somebody here from elections just to give a really quick? There you are. Really quick. Did you catch that part?
So what?
Really quick. Did you get, okay.
Thank you for reminding me. Why do you like me to say it was wonderful? So, you got any questions concerning
Do you
it?
want to say the percentage just?
Oh, I could do cool. Yeah, really quick.
Just really quick. It was one.
Mojave County, we had a 42.1% turnout between Republicans and Democrats that all could participate. We were the fourth out of the 15 counties, we'll say to the good end, to do so. Yavapai was at 54.82, Gila at 46.79, and Cochise at 42.34. We had a very good, we didn't have I'll tell you what, for this type of election, I think it was a pretty good turnout overall. It's not a primary, it's definitely not a general, but it was much better than, we'll say, just a normal, everyday special election.
Okay, everything went
lovely.
Okay, any questions, Mr.
Chairman?
Tucker? Yes.
I just want to ask our clerk whether we've received any threatening letters from the Attorney General this morning.
Not at this moment.
Thank you, ma'am.
The day is young.
Day is young.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve item 36.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. 38. This is to acknowledge Mojave County Parks resurfacing of fairgrounds exposition center floors for indoor pickleball courts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I pulled that. Is someone from Public Works available?
Yes, good morning, Supervisor.
Director Latosky, good morning. How was this identified as far as a need at the fairgrounds? Can you just give sort of an overview of that, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Supervisor Lingenfelter, this was an organic idea from Mojave County Park staff, and it capitalizes on the opportunity to utilize existing fairgrounds buildings, namely the Expo Center, and our first target would be that center building of the Expo Center, having the highest ceilings. And what we came across is an opportunity during weekday periods as well as other times of the week and year, quite frankly, where we have a facility that is really underutilized, and pairing it with a pickleball program whereby we would permanently surface the existing concrete floors, which are in very good condition, would invite the opportunities for local pickleball players to have access to a climate-controlled environment, as well as access basically during many hours of the other non-use days of the fairgrounds. So this is the proposal that is put forward to establish permanent with cork paint, permanent painting of the expo floors with pickleball courts, up to 3 per expo building. The expo buildings would certainly be available and would actually be quite heavily marketed as they are now, for other events. And we do not see where the pickleball markings would interfere with carrying out those other events.
Great, that answers my question.
Okay, I have a question. So this is a permanent surface for pickleball, correct?
Madam Chair, correct. And of course, with any paint surface, it could be undone with just a repainting of the floor surface in the future. And I should also add that there are similar venues that are set and run by the cities in Mojave County. Bullhead City operates what I believe to be temporary pickleball court markings on basketball courts at the Bullhead Boys and Girls Club, and Lake Havasu City does something similar at the Aquatic Center, again on basketball courts. So they don't have that luxury, and under competitive pickleball play, you really can't get a really good working competitive surface if you're just using temporary markings. But if you do the permanent markings, then we really open it up for some.
I don't know if you remember, but several years ago, we had a gentleman come up here and ask for a special use permit for the old Cries building out in Mojave Valley. And he was making these temporary pickleball surfaces that were being used for competitive play. And I thought that maybe was that looked at at all as something, so you wouldn't have to, keep painting over and over when it's being used for something else? Was that
Madam Chair,
explored at all?
Madam Chair, unfortunately, I wasn't aware of the Mojave Valley proposal, and I will emphasize that if we were to place the court paint on the expo floors, there would not have to be any repainting, in order to host other events. That the markings would just remain. They would be present, but they would still allow for other events to be held.
Okay, the Mojave Valley entity was the manufacturer of the surfaces.
I see.
That's what I'm saying. We literally have a company in Mojave Valley that makes these pickleball surfaces. I think they're the only ones in the country. They have this patent on this really good. And I just thought that maybe that would have helped in a way. I don't know if it would have made sense one way or the other, but I just think for the future, maybe anyone out there are temporary. I think they rent them out or they sell them for bigger, that do sort of charity things, and once in a while do a competitive pickleball. So that's just some information to put out there. What's the
Thank you. The staff will look into that.
Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is going to be temporary. It won't affect the operations of the park or of the fairgrounds in any way?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Johnson, what staff proposes is to put a permanent court paint down on the Expo Center flooring, but it will not interfere with the conduct and performance of other uses in the Expo buildings in the future, including the fair and other types of banquets, et cetera, that the Expo hosts.
All right, so all the cities have indoor pickleball except for Kingman, so you're doing something the city of Kingman should be doing?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Johnson, that is a good perspective. I would represent that the city of Kingman does have pickleball courts, but they're outdoor courts.
That's all. I'm sure they're house trained.
All right, anyone else have something to say? Yes, sir. And if you can give your name and your address, please.
My name is Don Matson. I live in Fort Mojave, a quarter mile from the advanced plant there. That's where I live. All you're talking about is paint for this issue. I guess you're going to paint up the nets or something. Don't you need poles in the ground and nets and all that stuff? You haven't mentioned any of that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Steve?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, there will obviously be nets erected as part of the playing court area, and there's means and ways by which these nets can be erected, in such a manner that they can be quickly removed.
Yeah, nets are a pretty important piece of the whole pickleball experience.
Madam Chair, I appreciate Director Latosky explaining sort of what their thought is on this program. I wanted to hear about that, but my concern was that we weren't going to just go to like a single use for this building, that it was still going to be open to multiple uses, because we still have a very small fairgrounds. It's not accommodating everybody's use. So, but I applaud the spirit of trying to branch out a little bit, and hopefully they'll use that building for more than just pickleball.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have to do something with item 25?
No, if you take no action, then there'll be no action, but if somebody wants to bring it back in the future, someone will have to bring it back. It will not be continued automatically, so.
Okay. Thank you. Now we're going to go on to the public hearings. Yes, Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Esplin, can we bring that up later in the meeting?
Yes, if you want to, you can do that as well.
Just not even reconsider. Okay. So we have public hearings. Item 63, I'm going to open the public hearing. Discussion and possible action, approve the adoption of the Board of Supervisor Resolution number 2024, a special use permit. I have a couple of people signed up to speak for this. It is a public hearing. Cheryl Apple, who is the applicant.
Hello. My name is Cheryl Apple. I live at 8893 South Cali Dale Media in Mojave Valley. In all the stuff that's been going on these last few months, no one in my area has come to us and approached us about where and what is the feed store. No one has asked where it's located. No one has asked anything about it on our property. So today I brought physical pictures of the location of the store, and I wanted to present them to you. How do you do this?
You can put it up, right, yeah, right where the camera's coming down on. Yep. No, the other way.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
This is the front of the feed store. This is a 2-car garage, and where I'm standing to take that photo is right next to the large metal steel building. This is the entrance of the feed store. As you can see, pretty small. And this is how we have laid it out. This is on the right side of the building. This is on the left side of the building. And this is a view from the middle. So everybody can see that it is a 2-car garage. It is on the outside of our property corral where all my animals are located. And in front of the building, if you could see, there is a parking zone for handicap. Thank you.
Thank you. If we have any further questions, we'll call you back after the
Thank you very much.
Okay. Lynn Robeson.
Madam Chair, Lynn Robison, speaking as a private citizen on this matter, also representing those folks, we have submitted a petition of a
Can you give your address, please?
1700 Vista. I live 2 doors down from the subject property. My wife and I have lived there for 17 years. We represent those people that have submitted the application in opposition. Most of those people have lived there considerably longer than we have. Mr. O'Kelly has lived there for 12 years. Francis Gilmore has lived down at the other end of the street for 30 years. The other folks, John and Carly, have lived on Cali Media for 15 years. So we represent the people. This is our neighborhood. This is our home. And we help each other. We've known each other for a long time. And we respectfully request that you deny this special use permit based on the following facts. C&D Feeds closed down. That's our South Mojave Valley feed store for all of the livestock and pets. They closed down. They have routed all of their traffic now through this corner building. This has been going on since before Christmas. Okay, this is not a cottage. They receive their merchandise by semi-truckload that come down our street. that turn and wheel and yield more dust on Cali de Media. They have a commercial grade forklift then we've all seen them do business right out of that front door, and it cannot be denied. So we have increased semi-truck traffic. We now have increased consumer traffic. Over the weekend of the holidays, I counted 11 trucks on one day. So we, the people, stand united. In opposition, we believe that this commercial business, it's a commercial retail business. They're dealing with this every day since before the holidays. And we politely invite them, take your business out the commercial corridor. That's where it belongs. Okay? We have endured noise, dust, traffic, and we politely request that you delay or oppose this special use.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anyone else who wants to speak? It's still the public hearing. Come on up.
Madam Chair and ladies and gentlemen, my name is Larry Apple. I'm also one of the applicants. My address is 8893 South Caledonia Media in Mojave Valley. Any business is a economic venture, and I'm into try before you buy. Mr. Robeson would kind of lead you to believe that there's commercial properties available everywhere that we can locate our store, and that's simply not true. Most of the land around us is Indian trust land. The old C&D building is virtually a tear down, but you have to start somewhere. A special use permit allows us to try before you buy. Before I invest $1 million plus in a commercial property, I need to know that it works. I want to establish a customer base. And so it's basically a cottage industry that allows us to validate the concept before we make a major investment. I find it kind of odd that Mr. Robinson objects to this. He has a financial interest in the gravel pit, and the vast majority of traffic dealing with heavy trucks is gravel trucks coming from the gravel pit going down Caledonia Media. We haven't had a delivery since December when somebody objected to our store. We did stop our operations per the Planning and Zoning Commission request. If we do have curiosity seekers, we do invite them to come in and take a look around. They want to compare prices, that's fine by us. We're the closest stores to us since C&D closed are Tractor Supply and Cow Ranch in Bullhead City, which are approximately 25 miles away, plus or minus a mile. So there is a void for a feed store on the south end of the valley, and we're just trying to start something here that we can do something for the community to help with their farm animals and pet supplies that would be closer than driving to Bullhead City.
Okay.
We are available for questions.
We're in a public hearing. We'll call you back.
Okay,
if we
thank you,
need
ma'am.
to. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this for the public hearing? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Does anybody want to ask any questions of the applicant? I think I do. So if you can come down, back, either or both.
Yes, ma'am.
So this was a little confusing. So when I was first kind of reading this, and it made it appear that your very large structure was the store, but it's not. It's how big is that, the store?
Well, it's basically a vacant two-car garage. It's about 625 square feet, 25 by 25.
Right.
The building he's showing is a 4-bay garage, and it houses I have a travel camper, my Dodge truck, a Jeep, and my wife's Fiat 500's in there. There is nothing associated with a feed store in that large building.
Okay, and what is the traffic? How many people are you getting a day coming here to your 625?
On average, I'd have to say 0.
All right, now it's kind of close.
So far, we have one neighbor across the street from Mr. Robinson that walked down here, and they have a horse, and so they're interested in things like Timothy hay pellets for the horse. And So there's been no traffic. They walk and they put it in their wagon and walk it back. The only traffic on this road really is school buses. There are some semi-trucks, but yeah, that's just the neighborhood. I mean, it's been that way since we've lived here for 4 years, and the area is growing, so the traffic is increasing somewhat. When there's an accident on Highway 95, they typically reroute the traffic down Laguna, down Cali del Media, and then further down the road to avoid the accident. But the store generates no noxious fumes, odors, vibrations, or anything that would be out of the ordinary. This is not a feed mill.
What is your projection for the amount of people? I mean, it had been open for a while before the county came in. You were open one day. Okay. Well, what is your projection? How much traffic do you think this is going to?
Well, we'd be pretty thrilled with 1 or 2 cars a day, quite frankly. Okay. We have made provisions for handicap parking, but handicapped people generally aren't going to be carrying around 40 or 50-pound bags of feed. But we do offer loadout services like any other feed store would do.
Okay. Is there any other questions for the applicants? Oh, okay.
I have questions too, man.
Yes.
Oh,
for staff or for the applicant?
I can start with staff.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have one question for the applicant, if I may.
Yes.
If this does get approved today and in respect to your neighborhood, at what point do you look at relocating? Let's say you do very well and you relocate into a commercial.
Well, the special use permit is good for 3 years. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we'll make our best efforts to grow the business with advertising and promotions. But at the end of the day, I'm the only one risking capital. It doesn't cost Mr. Robinson one single penny out of his pocket for us to have a business here. So.
Yeah, I recognize that, and I appreciate, most big businesses, they start in a garage somewhere. I mean, if you look at entrepreneurs, but
Apple Computers, a notable example.
As you scale from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, small business, there's going to be a point where it's no longer appropriate to run out of a neighborhood.
Yep, you're absolutely correct. Our goal is to go move into a commercial property when it justifies it, and hopefully we outgrow it soon.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I thank you. If we need you again, we'll call you back up. Is Tim Walsh or someone from Development Services available?
Madam Chair, yes.
Yes. Hi there. So give us the skinny on this.
So the applicants, I think, as was stated, they put together a feed store. We received a complaint about a feed store back, I think it was back in October-ish, October, December, sometime late last year. Our zoning inspector went out, investigated, met with the Apples, identified the issue. They were good working with us. As far as we know, they stopped any operations, stopped any sales. We worked with them and indicated that a cottage industry would be the appropriate application here to allow for what they desired to do, and as far as a cottage or as far as a feed store. They applied for that cottage industry, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. So it's from what we're seeing, what's been presented to us, it would be an appropriate fit. A cottage industry generally is a at-home business, but that attracts some public attracts customers to it. That's basically the next step up from a home industry or a at-home workplace. So the application is appropriate, and we recommended approval, and the commission also recommended approval.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Johnson, do you have a question?
Sure. Mr. Walsh, are you familiar with the traffic count that'll be generated by this business?
At this time, no, we have not looked at the traffic count specific to this business. Generally, though, we would look at that during the site plan review. If that's generally something that Public Works, looking at the type of business, if they have a concern, they'll request that as part of the application.
Because I know everybody keeps talking about C&D Feed, and they did a tremendous business there. I didn't know they were out of business, but I know they had quite a bit of traffic, but they were on Highway 95, I believe. I guess that's all the questions I have for the time being. Thank you.
Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Director Walsh, I'm not really sure that this actually fits the definition of a cottage industry. It seems more like a retail business to me.
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Gould, in reviewing what was proposed to us, yes, it does have a retail portion to it. We do have similar type of cottage industries, actually larger in scale, in that they will do some of the agriculture. They'll grow the agriculture and then sell it themselves on site. This would be a smaller retail type cottage industry, but yes, you're correct. It does have a retail component to it, and really is the component. But based on the scale and the location, staff felt that the cottage industry was appropriate and applicable for this location.
And doesn't part of our cottage industry statute say not change the nature of the neighborhood?
Believe so. Yeah, I think that is the intent, is that it would fit within the neighborhood and not dramatically change it. That's correct.
I believe it also has something about excessive amounts of foot traffic.
I believe so as well. And I've got my planning and zoning manager, Scott Holtree, on a line as well. He could probably speak a little bit more specific to those, how the zoning ordinance describes the cottage industry and how we arrived at this recommendation, if you'd like.
Sure.
Go ahead, Scott.
Madam Chair, members of the board. Supervisor Gould is correct. We do have a definition in our zoning ordinance that states a business or commercial use conducted within a dwelling or an accessory structure and carried on by the occupant of the dwelling is clearly incidental and secondary to the residential use of the dwelling and does not change the character of the residential property or adversely affect other residential uses. I don't think we're to that point. We do allow for the cottage industry for home occupation businesses. They're not allowed to change the character of the neighborhood or the area. And without them being in operation, we don't know if that's going to be the effect here. Once they're in operation, we do have provisions within our ordinance that allows us to revoke the cottage industry permit for them. It would come back to the Board of Supervisors, and we would determine whether or not it still meets the cottage industry standards. We do allow for, in our cottage industry standards, we do allow for 5 parking spaces on site is one of the provisions that we set forth in our cottage industry. It is meant for the retail sales in more rural parts of the county. There is also an opportunity if the neighbors are in opposition after it's been open and operating, if 51% of the property owners within 300 feet of this cottage industry are in opposition or seem like they do not like the character or the effects that it has come about because of the business, then they can also sign a petition within that time frame, the 3-year time frame that they have for that special use permit, and bring it back to the board for reconsideration as well. But yeah, we'll go through a site plan review process. We'll look at their current parking, drive entrances, how they're going to be able to handle off-street parking, and the traffic flow that would be coming to the site.
Do we allow on-street parking for this kind of business?
Madam Chairman, the Supervisor Gould, we do not allow for any on-street parking in the county. All businesses need to have off-street parking.
You would think if they are required to have 5 parking spaces, they would at least have 5 customers there at the same time.
Supervisor Gould, so it's not required to have 5. You couldn't have more than 5.
Interesting. So we don't take a look at what types of businesses and the kind of traffic those types of businesses generate?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Gould, so yeah, when we do the site plan for this feed store, we will have our like Director Walsh mentioned, our Public Works Department will be looking at the traffic count for that type of use in business and what it would require.
It kind of seems backwards, the process that we use. So we're going to tell these people to go ahead and then see if anybody complains, and then if people complain, then we're going to yank the permit from them. It seems like we ought to nail these things down before we issue the conditional use permit.
And that's, Madam Chair, Supervisor Gould, we can put conditions, that's the whole point of the cottage industry, is we can place conditions on there prior to the operation of the business. If the board only wants them to have 2 spaces, we can set that condition on the approval right now. And that's the whole point of the cottage industry, is if the board wants to place specific conditions on this type of business in a residential area, they're allowed to do so.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Holtree? I have a general question. So again, let everyone know, how big is this lot?
Madam Chair, the parcel itself is 1.12 acres.
Okay, and the parking spaces are inside that gate, the gated area?
Yes, ma'am. If you recall the photo that Mr. Robinson put up, there's a driveway that allows parking on the right. There's also a big concrete slab in front of there, plus an additional handicap spot on another concrete slab.
Okay.
There's at least 5 spaces.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Supervisor Gould, this is in your area.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to deny.
There's a motion to deny, and then there's a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of the denial, say aye.
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 All opposed? Aye. Passes 4-1 for the denial. On to number 64. I'm going to open the public hearing. Discussion and possible action, approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution 2024-090, a rezone of assessor's parcel number 224-20-027. The commission recommended approval by unanimous vote. Anyone wish to speak on 64? We do have somebody signed up, Lynn Robeson.
Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors, Lynn Robinson representing the applicant. When this project analysis came to my office, it's a rezone from NP, Neighborhood Park, to AR. So I went about the due diligence, tried to determine where the NP zoning came from. So I talked to the previous owner. He didn't know anything about it. It was Chip Sherrill. That property's been in his family for 40 years. They were instrumental in the park, which is right next to it, which is zoned NP, Neighborhood Park. And you can see that there's 4 ball fields, there's tennis courts, there's pickleball courts, there's a dog park, there's walking trails, there are literally hundreds of trees. So that park has satisfied South Mojave Valley. And so as I came to staff, they went and researched this also. Amy helped me do this, and we couldn't really determine when it happened. And so they referred me to Mehdi Arzami, who was on the Planning and Zoning Commission. He was the lead on this park. and did a fine job. And we're really proud of that park in South Mojave Valley. He couldn't identify it either. He said, Lynn, it wasn't me. We didn't rezone it to NP, this subject property that we're talking about. So we really haven't figured it out why it has been zoned NP, but we request the board approval to the zoning of AR, which is the most appropriate in Mojave Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on item 64? Item 64? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
I have a question.
All right, Supervisor Johnson?
I guess my question is, the park he's referring to is still private property. It's not dedicated to any government agency, so if we rezone this, does that take away? Obviously, they put that in there for a reason to have parks at some point. That would be my question.
Madam Chair.
Oh, one second. No, please sit down. 1 second. Can we have somebody from zoning again?
Chairman Angus,
Yes.
I'm available.
Yes. So do you want to answer that
Sure.
question?
Yes. So when the park was initially rezoned to allow for a park there, the entire parcel was rezoned. I believe, in looking back at some of the documents, it appears that the intent was just to rezone the west half where the park is. However, I believe the application or somewhere along the process, the entire parcel was rezoned to NP, which is why it's NP at this point. So what they're looking to do, the owner's looking to rezone it to AR, and then the AR zoning, there's actually a few size restrictions in the proposed zoning. One is AR, one's AR 3-acre minimum, and the other is AR 27-acre minimum. So basically, the proposed zoning would fit the existing parcels that are there. Again, it appears that when it was rezoned back at the time to an NP zone, that the entire parcel was zoned NP rather than just the area that was intended for the park.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Supervisor Johnson?
Yes, it's good to see that Mr. Walsh knows the intent of people.
Okay, then. Any other questions for Mr. Walsh? Or for the applicant or anybody? Okay, Supervisor Gould?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 65, I'm opening the public hearing. Discussion possible action to approve or deny the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution number 2024-091, an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan. We have one person, Mr. Robeson.
Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors, Lynn Robinson, representing the applicant. Project analysis came to my office, and during the due diligence, prior to the property exchanging hands, disclosure was made that the gravel pit was operating in non-compliance. It was not zoned correctly. This is a farm pit. It's been a portion of the Sherrill Farms for more than 50 years. A farm pit, farmers build roads. They cut hay, but they build roads. When they're not cutting hay, they're over at the pit. They have a screening plant. They have a loader. They're hauling material because these roads protect their equipment. Okay, there's haulers, there's swathers, there's balers, there's bale wagons. And some of these farmers have contracts with other farmers to cut and bale. So they're over there building roads. So this has been a farm pit for 50 years, and it merged into a commercial pit simply through the practice of habit. It's been a habit to go over there and take material and build road base and have the different parts of the aggregate industry. They didn't even know. They've been there working. Chip's been there working for 40 years. When it exchanged hands, and as soon as title conveyed, I called Development Services. I disclosed this. I disclosed it to Planning and Zoning. I'm disclosing it to you. There's been no intent of deceit. They've just been working. They didn't know. And so the first order of business was to bring it into compliance. That's to rezone it. So that's the application today, to rezone it. We've also established more than one entrance from Laguna. We've established off of Willow. That's the north end of the property. We've gone about developing the property, grading, drainage, flood control. We have to go through the building permit of our building, of our office. We've drilled a well. So we're working to bring this in compliance. And we would appreciate your vote of approval. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to item 65? Come on down. We are in a public hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So again, it's Larry Apple. One of his objections to our business was traffic and noise on Calydale Media. Is it possible to put a restriction on Calydale Media to keep the gravel trucks from the gravel pit going down Calydale Media, which is a county public road?
He can't answer you, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Item 65?
Thank you.
Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Supervisor Gould?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 66, I'm opening up the public hearing. Discussion and possible action, approve or deny the adoption of Resolution 2024-092, an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan. This is in the White Hills vicinity. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? We got no one signed up. Anyone wish to speak on item 66? Seeing none, I close the public hearing.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 67, I'm opening the public hearing. Discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution 2024-079, establishing a DeSoto Drive Road Improvement District. Anyone? There's no one signed up. Anyone wish to speak to item 67? 67? Seeing none, I close the public hearing.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to go now back to the call to public. I'm going to tell the next two up, and if you can be on base, or not on base, what is the term? And anyway, if you can come down and just be ready so we can get through this as quickly as possible, okay? Jean Morgan. And everybody, please give your names and your addresses. Oh, he does. Okay. All right, after we do.
Good morning, Board. My name is Jem Morgana. My address is 4370 North Charles Drive in Kingman. I was going to address a different issue, but when I arrived this morning, I was given two options. I could do call to the public, or I could request to speak on a regular agenda item. Was not given the option to address an issue that is or was on the consent agenda. One of those items was pulled, which is item number 36. So I thought, because it was on the consent agenda, that it was going to just go through with no shenanigans, as it has in previous times. But of course, that didn't happen. And Supervisor Gould had to make his little snarky comment about, have we received a letter from Attorney General Mays? So what I need to say is, time and time again, this board has attempted to legislate a political agenda, a party agenda, by failing to certify out of protest of things that have happened in different counties. There has never been a problem with Mojave County elections, ever. And that fact is reiterated every single time by board members, and yet you vote to not certify elections in protest, and you do it within the deadline. I get that. You also are doing things that call into question the election integrity of Mojave County with the hand counts and various things. So yes, you have called the attention of our Attorney General. This board, because of your shenanigans regarding election issues, you've also called upon the attention of several nonpartisan organizations across the state that have never cared about what's happening in Mojave County. And yet now they're hiring field organizers to come up here and address these issues. These are things that this board has called upon itself because of the shenanigans that go on every single time we have an election. So I don't appreciate the snarky comment when it's based on the consequences of the partisan antics of this board. So I would have addressed it if I'd had an option on the agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah McKeever, then Don Mattson, and Mac McKeever.
Good morning. My name is Deborah McKeever. I reside at 6090 South Shelby Road in Fort Mojave, Arizona. Good morning, Madam Chair and the other board members. We know this is getting to be repetitive for you, but it has been unbelievably life-changing for us as well. We are tired. We love being retired, doing all the retired fun things. It saddens me to think of how busy people are with everyday life, not having the ability to give input to the individuals they have voted into office to do the right thing for them. Most young people raising a family, trying to make a living, just trying to make ends meet, and having to endure the outcomes of decisions that our elected officials have decided for them. We are lucky. Our neighborhood consists of predominantly retired people who have more time to come to Board of Supervisor meetings, hold rallies, have groups or individuals wanting to fund advertising or pay for flyers to spread the word about bad decisions our elected officials are making. We bring to light the non-transparency of big business, hiding behind not-for-profit businesses while raking in ungodly salaries at the expense of ordinary citizens, some struggling to make ends meet. I believe we have been extremely patient while MEC and EPCO say they are looking for an alternate location for their peaker plant. Patrick Ledger was thankful for our slogan, "Was not in any neighborhood," instead of "no peaker plant." He was grateful that the Sierra Club was not involved because he said if they were, it would probably not get built. That should be a red flag right there, but we are still patient. Well, the time has now come that other news outlets that have close ties with the Sierra Club are coming to interview the neighbors and visit the proposed location. If MEC is truly looking at a new location suitable to the area, now would be a good time to talk about it. They may just need to find an alternate location in Arizona.
Don Mattson and Mac McKeever, and after him, Chuck Hayes.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Don Mattson. I live at 2611 East Mayra Street, Fort Mojave, quarter mile from your proposed peaker plant. One of the things that the Board of Supervisors really needs to provide its constituents is consistency. You have a moratorium on renewable energy because you're concerned about the impact of renewable energy on the county, yet you're going full speed ahead with gas-powered turbine power plants in residential areas. That's not consistency. Maybe you need a moratorium on all of it until you figure out what you want to do. In 2018, Supervisor Wakamoto, Supervisor Bishop, both wanted to adjust the rezoning wording to protect the residents in the future, in particular worried about a different owner coming along and changing the character from a recycling plant to something else that was not good for the neighborhood. Yet Supervisor Bishop flip-flopped on that, originally wanted to protect the neighborhood, but now has voted yes in 2023 for a peaker power plant. I would like to challenge Supervisor Bishop to cough up 3 locations in her district where this peaker power plant could be, and that could be evaluated by MEC. Supervisor Johnson voted no in 2018. He thought that it was not good to have a recycling building in our neighborhood. 2023, he says yes, put a power plant there. I also challenged Supervisor Johnson. Perhaps you should come up with 3 locations that MEC could look at in your district to put a peaker power plant. Supervisor Gold has been consistent with no. Supervisor Angus, I give you credit. You have been consistent all the way. You are a not in my backyard. Go put this peaker plant in someone else's neighborhood, and you've consistently done that all the way. You're a very big advocate for this power plant. I believe you should provide 5 locations in your district where this plant could be, that could be evaluated by MEC. I guess that concludes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mac McKeever, and then Chuck DeShazer, and then Dave Johnson.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, Madam Chairman Angus, and fellow members of the board. My name is Mac McKeever. I live at 6090 Shelby Avenue in Fort Mojave, Arizona. I'm here today to talk a little bit about the lack of transparency and honesty that on the part of the Mojave Electric Cooperative. They've been lying to you. They've been lying to us now for over 6 months. They have made false promises regarding how they're looking at other properties for a possible location, and all we hear is, well, we looked at this, but it's not suitable. They haven't given us any addresses they've really looked at. They haven't been open with us. But yet they continue to pour thousands of dollars of cooperative members' money into advertising in newspaper pages and billboards. They currently have several billboards supporting the Mojave Energy Park within the current 3-mile location of this proposed location. Those billboards, as we have run billboards ourselves, they cost approximately $700 to $1,200 a month for each billboard. It seems to me like it's a waste to spend that much money on something that they feel like they might be looking at an alternate location, because all of those billboards still support the Mojave Energy Park, which is their current proposed location. They've took out full-page ads in the newspapers. We did that. The Mojave Valley Daily News quoted us $1,900 a day for a full-page ad. I'm sure Mojave Electric is not paying that since they're a not-for-profit organization and we're just a small bunch of retired citizens, but that was the price they quoted us. The billboards still say they support hospitals, fire stations, and cooling centers. Well, I believe the only cooling center in Fort Mojave is the fire station. It and the hospital have their own backup generators. I don't understand how they feel they're supporting those. They stated that during the power outage in 2020 that the power would not have been out in these locations if the peaker plant had been in operation. The transmission and distribution lines in that area were down by over 100 power poles. They wouldn't have been able to get power from the plant anyway. Then MEC wouldn't even come and clean up the area around us because we're Unisource customers. We couldn't even get out of our development. Unisource supported us by bringing water and fuel supplies for our backup generators and doing wellness checks in our neighborhood every day for 5 days. They were in the neighborhood 3, 4, 5 times a day. So I'm just really concerned about the lack of transparency that MEC has put forth. I'm still concerned about the location. I'm still opposed to the power plant location, not necessarily opposed to the power plant. But as my wife talked just now, there are a lot of people starting to get involved with this because it's been going on so long. I think it's time that MEC becomes extremely transparent with what they plan on doing, because I know that There's a reporter from The Guardian, which is an international paper affiliated with the Sierra Club, is coming to my house on the 8th of April to interview us. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck DeShazer, Dave Johnson, and then Scotty McClure.
Chuck DeShazer, Polaris Road, Topeka, Arizona. I have a couple things to talk to you about today. One is that at your last Board of Supervisors meeting, item 35 was approved to send the $3.5 $40 minimum automation fee to the Building Code Advisory Board, and under their duties, responsibilities, and objectives, it's noted in two places that the Building Code Advisory Board is not able to address administrative fees or administrative issues with the building code. So I don't know why you're sending it to them to begin with. And then that would be passed on to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then back to you guys to figure it out. But on top of everything else, I didn't know until the discussion by Tim Walsh last time that this automation fee was first implemented in 2006, which is a year before iPhones even came out, which tells me that maybe it needs to be looked at to be removed entirely, because I can snap a picture with my phone and upload it to the internet and everything else. What are we paying an automation fee for? You know, if it's for storage, the county needs to supply that through their IT department. The second issue that I have today has to do with, didn't realize until Tim Walsh was leaving to go to Kingman as a city manager, that our chief building official is not an engineer, doesn't have the degree or whatever to fill those shoes for a short time, and you're going to be replacing the development head with an interim and looking for another. So the question I have is, if somebody is planning a project and sends engineering plans to be approved by the development services, and Tim Walsh is gone, our chief building official can look at those engineering plans and he doesn't have the qualifications to do anything about them. It's like asking Rin Tin Tin or Mr. Ed to explain math to the in Latin to somebody. He's not qualified to say whether or not the engineering plans that are set forth should or should not even be approved. So what makes him more qualified than anybody off the street to approve or disapprove a project? Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Johnson, then Scotty McClure, and then Jennifer Esposito. Please come make your way down. Please.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Dave Johnson, 417 Kirkland Avenue in Golden Valley. I would like to know who supervises the staff that recommends all these things to you. You people are about to and have already just blanketly approved expenditures of $1 million, as I understand. I might be wrong with the consent agenda item number 55. I don't know if that's $1 million coming in or $1 million going out, but it's staff approved. We, your constituents, have no idea who these staff members are, how they're picked, or we even have a voice in them being picked. You approved somebody to sit in the Planning and Zoning Commission for 4 years. Again, I know I, as a constituent, was not consulted or even presented with any information. Gilbert Smaby is allowed on his time to go out and campaign for District 4, and I see him all the time at time that he should be in his office, and he's not. Who's paying for that? Also, he had come out and said that if we apply for information, that there's no, I forget the term, that anyhow, the name is hidden from the people who ask for the information. I personally have asked the zoning department for information and was returned a form that said that that information was private and wasn't revealed, and Smaby said that they return it all the time. So there's some confusion there. Who supervises these people to make these kind of statements with no, excuse me, I have trouble with words, with no accountability? So where do we go to get accountability with these staff members?
Thank you. Mr. McClure, Jennifer Esposito, please make your way down, and Jeff Esposito.
Scotty from Bullhead and candidate for District 2 Supervisor, which I'm here today to turn in my nomination papers. If I can track down Alan. With that shirt you're wearing, Alan, I can find you. And while I'm really here, I've taken this to the Bullhead City Council, which apparently they don't give a damn about child molesters. I've taken this to them twice. We keep getting these notifications about them living in our neighborhood. They have to notify us, and the paper does a good job of doing this. This is May 12th. Anyway, let me read you the numbers of how many child molesters convicted, done their time, and you have to be, don't go knocking on their door time, don't go hassle them or nothing, because they have more rights than you do. In Kingman, listen up, folks. You have 125 child molesters living in your town. Havasu, 43. Fort Mojave, 16. Mojave Valley, 13. Golden Valley only has 36. We didn't get, and in Bullhead, my town, in Hildy's town, we have 60. We just got our 60th one. She's from Florida. She. So we give equal rights to that too. But what I'm saying here, this is, you can look up on Schuster's little Mojave County Sheriff's Office, and you can look up their addresses, which they do give them the block number anyway. You can see what they did. This is on search, register, safety tips, links, contact from Mojave County Sheriff's Office. So what I'm getting at here is most of these people are from out of state, and this needs to be stopped. Here's three people from, I see Wisconsin and Nevada. This guy's only done Arizona, so that one we need to take care of. That's our county, our state. This other one's, this comes to my mailbox, and, you know, it's just, I've noticed that the last few times they've all been out of county for the last year or so. All out of county. We need to stop this somewhere. I don't know if you guys got to go to the parole board or something. Legislature probably at least do something. This has got to stop. They're dumping them from Florida, California, Nevada, Utah. They're coming here to Mojave Valley. That's 293 people in the numbers. 293 child molesters living here without nobody really realizing that they're from, I'll bet you half of them are from out of state. We can look this up. I'm not going to, because I have to be careful what I say there.
Thank you very much.
Do something about this, no more.
Jennifer Esposito, Jeff Esposito, and then Phil Robinson.
Good morning, Jennifer Esposito, candidate for District 4 County Supervisor, 3211 East Snavely Avenue, Kingman. First, I would just like to say that the housing resolution does say that you have to allow illegals. So, good thing resolutions are fairly toothless. Maybe we should just stop passing resolutions. Also, once again, I am here to ask you to put it on the agenda to give the people of the Golden Valley Improvement District their $562,900 back that you swept for the project, which is fully funded by ARPA, and make us solvent again. It is my understanding that construction on the new well has begun and will be completed within about 30 days. So that's a good thing. I don't, the estimate and the contract was approved at under $1 million. You have $1.7 million in ARPA funds allocated, and you had previously allocated the GVID money, which staff made us look insolvent when we weren't, which seemed like it justified the rate increase that I still maintain we don't actually need. Also, again, I would like to say, please put it on the agenda to repeal this convoluted thing that the county manager put forth to combine the consent agenda comments with the call to the public. Because when you have so many items on the consent agenda, people like even Miss Morgana would like to comment. I know that my husband had some things that he wanted to comment on, but those items were not pulled. It clearly was designed to chill free speech so that the public could not comment before those items came up and give you the information that maybe the public would like an item pulled that you hadn't thought to pull. I think that whole resolution was poorly contrived and should not have been passed, and you can simply put it on the agenda to repeal that resolution and let people sign up to speak on those items rather than trying to combine them into a 3-minute call to the public. Because if the item's not pulled and call to the public does not come before the consent agenda, as happened today, it does create a bit of confusion, and people who are as has been stated, highly scripted frequent flyers. They may have written out their call to the public and their consent agenda into something that they had planned to read so that they were more prepared. And that happened to my husband at the last meeting. He started reading the agenda item that he had written for call to the public and then kept going into his call to the public, which was why he did apologize for that, that he was reading from his notes. And a lot of people have to do that. So please put those 2 items on and take care of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeff Esposito, Philip Robinson, and then Armin Stang.
Jeff Esposito, 3211 East Snavely. Good morning. Wow, this is definitely an April Fool's meeting. Moving consent items before call to public, switching and just shuffling the agenda willy-nilly, and focusing on pickleball courts. Definitely an April Fool's meeting. Okay, so I'm hearing that at Wednesday's budget workshop, the fact that this county does not have a projected $18.5 million budget deficit will come to light. I suspect it was another bloated budget wish list put to this board by the unsupervised department heads and manager. This reminds me of the smoke and mirror numbers of the Golden Valley Improvement District given to us when this board tried to keep a ridiculous $5 fee as well as raise rates. That caused my wife Jennifer to take the matter to court, and the case is still open. The latest insane budgeting episode caused by this board accepting Supervisor Gould has wasted time and money. I have to call out 4 of you supervisors for attempting to shame Supervisor Gould into voting for an unnecessary sales tax to fix an imaginary problem. Shame on the 4 of yous for not doing your due diligence of research and investigation. Due to the lack of lackadaisical approach of reporting on matters of importance by all forms of local media, citizens will have to watch county business matters closely. At this point in time, we cannot trust this board. Moving on, agenda item 56 represents a boatload of money. I wonder if our county manager is receiving any oversight. I've been looking at the warrant register expenses that have been approved so far this year. The numbers are outrageous. The list of recipients is huge and brings many questions to mind. The first one being, is there any oversight? Switching subjects, agenda items 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 are requests for travel by the health department. Grant funded means puppet strings attached. Our procedures will be affected. Remember, the medical industrial complex is not our friend. I would like to know why my property taxes in 2023 jumped 30%. I wonder what goes on behind these county doors. Agenda items 26, 27, 28, and 29 are solicitations for indigent attorney services. Why are we paying for outside services? Too much lawfare, laziness, complacency, or is it worse? Agenda item 35 is contracting with a private cooling and heating company. Do we not have a maintenance department? In agenda item 31, we are buying 6 2024 large Tahoes for the Sheriff's Department at a cost of $373,000. I'm sure Maricopa County is thankful for the taxes. Why Tahoes? Good God, people. Now I need some oxygen.
Thank you. Philip Robinson, Armin Stang, and then Kenny Works.
There you go, guys. We had an awesome weekend. A lot of you know what happened. Sheriff Lamb came to Golden Valley. This was not a GOP event because we, at the Conservatives for Golden Valley, were open to everything. I don't know if can you see that? Barely. But anyway, these are the co-founders. Us three, Michelle, myself, and John, started Conservatives in Golden Valley. It's been awesome. We're up to almost 90 members in our organization. We're open to anybody coming to our meetings, not only Democrats, Independents, Green, we don't care. As long as you have the same beliefs as us, transparency, you're welcome. And I want to bring out today that the sheriff, Schuster, wherever he's at, I saw him earlier, but he has agreed to have a debate with Mike. That's going to be awesome. Please mark it down on your calendars. I'll be coming in and telling you more, like always. And I'm not going to get into the political side no more. I'm going to bring what we're doing for Golden Valley to the board. And I know you guys don't have nothing to do with us, but I'm going to do it anyway. But anyway, they're going to have our debate on May 11th at 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Right, like the one coming up this weekend, Hildy. Again, we're going to have the first LD30. I almost forgot, Hildy. LD30 debate, which is Hildy, Ashley, and Kim. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be cold. Please wear your coats. It's only supposed to get up to 56 degrees that day. But anyway, I'm almost out. But anyway, we're doing awesome things out in the valley. You know, people are pulling together. They're seeing what's happening. You know how Danielle is. Yes, I'm going to do a shout out to Danielle. She's an awesome lady. She's one of our people. She's an independent. And like I said, I don't care if you have the same belief as us. You're more than welcome. When we're again, and there's been a lot of confusion, people are saying, oh, it's a GOP group. No, we're not. We're a conservative group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. Arnon?
Good morning, Supervisors. This is south of Safeway. They started a tent city there again, so I got informed this morning from the manager of Safeway, there's another tent popping up. And you see he has his lawn furniture and everything there, so he feels pretty comfortable. And that's one of the problems I think that needs to be taken care of. We had this problem years ago already, and it was supposed to be all corded off and nobody being in the wash. This what we have to contend up at nights. Walking Dead in the neighborhood. They come from, I would say, roughly south of Camp Mojave, where the homeless camp is. Then we have other properties where they have squatters sitting, and they are on Infantry and 4349 Ann Lane and 4201 Valencia, the Army property. They're all cruising from one house to the other. So there's another shot of him. And we have this little problem with illegals on the Chinese app calling people to invade homes that are empty. The county needs to do something for the homeowners. When the homeowners are snowbirds, they're not here for 6 months, and they come back and you have an illegal living in your house. That's not going over too well. So we need to pass an ordinance to keep them away from our houses. You know, what you gonna do when you go on a vacation and you come back and you have one of them illegals in your house? I don't think you're gonna be happy. And so I really would appreciate if something is gonna be done on the county level to pass an ordinance and, you know, get rid of them. And then the other thing is, you got complained about the election and everything. As far as I'm concerned, you did a great job so far. So why should big government bully little government? That's unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kenny Works.
Kenny Works, Yucca, Arizona. I just wanted to, I changed my topic like Ms. Morgaine did. The amount of private land that we're using to generate electricity and then send it somewhere else. That adds the transmission line real estate is being added to it as well. I have an issue that I think that private land is so rare in Mojave County that we should try and steer the developers of the electricity generation projects to the public land that is much more prevalent and more available. I think that we need to find a way to utilize our private land for individual purposes and businesses alike, but businesses and that will help our local economy and commerce, as opposed to sending it to the oceanside communities where they do not want to have power generated in their area, evidently. I hope I got my message across that it's our private land is quite rare, and go to AmericansLandCouncil.org and you can see a map of the quantity of government land compared to the quantity of private land in Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who did not sign up who wishes to speak? All right, seeing no, I'm going to close the call to public. I do have a comment. I do as well believe that, you know, when we changed to new chairmanship, that it got a little fuzzy about the rules. So if we can come back with something clearer. I did ask before the consent agenda if anyone had signed up for a consent agenda They can speak to it, but nobody had signed up, even on the call of publics. But I agree, it's confusing. So we will make sure that that's clarified at the next meeting. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Apparently I had a complaint about my level of snark. I will be checking the rules to make sure that snark is not outlawed. And if snark is outlawed, I will surely cease the snark. Thank you, ma'am.
I believe it is your First Amendment right. Yes.
Madam Chair, since proclamation was mentioned, and I was the one that voted against it, somebody mentioned why I voted against it. I believe that it allows for illegals under that fair housing, and I don't agree with that. So thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Anything, Supervisor Bishop? Okay, with that, we've closed the call to public, and now we're going to go on to the regular agenda. Does anybody need a 5-minute break? Yeah? Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break. I know, it's not on. Oh, now it is. 1 minute warning. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting back to order. We are now in our regular agenda, number 68, Development Services. Discussion and possible action to approve an amendment to ordinance number 2021-03, which ordinance adopted pursuant to ARS 1186, regarding clarification of procedures for notification appeals and liens of unsafe structures and establish a fee schedule for abatements. Mr. Walsh, can we please have the audience, excuse me, can we please have it, we can hear you.
Madam Chair, thank you. These are just the ongoing changes that were recommended by the board at our last meeting, working with the attorney's office to make those revisions.
Okay. We do have some people signed up to speak. Chuck DeShazer.
Chuck DeShazer, Polaris Road, Topeka, Arizona. On 68, my concerns come down to, this was continued from the March 4th meeting, I believe. And we were told at that time that even though Tim Walsh and Gilbert Smaby are at the top of the background information, it was actually being rewritten by Ryan Esplin. One is the fee schedule now is indicating that there's a $35 per hour fee for the inspections, whereas the building department normally charges a $65 flat fee for the inspections on the fee schedule. The building department has not in the past had the mileage on their fee schedule, such as the code enforcement has had. And I really would like Mr. Esplin to explain item 2 of the changes that he's sending or whoever's writing it is sending for item 1 of the change to the Board of Supervisors. For item 2 of the change, he's sending it to the Building Code Advisory Board, then to the Supervisors, then to the Superior Court. For anything other than an abatement of a structure, and I don't understand what anything other than an abatement of a structure would be, why 2 is even listed in there at all, because you already have the Building Code Advisory Board would hear any other thing besides an abatement. So it's again, the same thing as I said last time at the March 4th meeting, I don't understand number 2. So that's what I have to say.
All right, we'll hear from everybody and then maybe go back to that. Dave Johnson. And then Jennifer Esposito.
Board of Supervisors, Dave Johnson, 417 Kirkland in Golden Valley. I oppose this as I feel it's being brought to us by the efforts of the International Building Code. And there's state statutes that already cover this, and it interferes with our property rights that we're guaranteed under both the Constitution of the United States and the Arizona Constitution. These complicated, as he's indicated, that what we're doing is we have to ask you permission to use our land, and then when you decide that it doesn't fit your plans, your interpretation that of the International Building Code, then you're going to charge us again to remove it from our land. Something is not right here. We're the property rights owners, and we should be allowed the freedom to use our property as we like. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jennifer Esposito.
Thank you, Jennifer Esposito. I agree with the comments by Mr. DeShazer, who is on point and insightful as always. I think that the language, where it says that only the structural things come before the board, but the second part that he brought up, that the decisions of that board are appealable to this board. Okay. The non-structural stuff. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Part of the problem with the international codes is that they incorporate, the fire code and the property maintenance code and all the other codes are it's all sort of part and parcel, and we've gotten a little convoluted with whether one part applies to what or the other part applies to what, whether it's under the zoning or whether it's under the building and code or whether it's under the property maintenance code and all of this nonsense. And I think we just need to get rid of it and go back the way it was. But I'm concerned about the second part is violations of the property maintenance code that we shouldn't have because they're HOA rules for the unincorporators. Are those things first appealable to the Building Code Advisory Board before they come here? Because building code is only to advise the Building Code Department on changes they might make in their ordinance, and that's only for building codes, not for property maintenance, like counting chickens and all the other absurdities that they brought before this board. So I still think there needs to be some additional clarification about what goes to that board. And again, I unilaterally oppose anything that appeals to anyone which charges a fee, because in, I believe it was 2003, when we adopted these international codes, it repealed in total the previous code, which meant that it repealed the $50 appeal fee. And then the department kept charging, without any statutory authority, the $50 fee. And so, I think that, there may be a bit of work to do, but given that Mr. Walsh is leaving us, and then that puts the burden on Mr. Esplin without a department head to sort of go back and forth with this on policy. Also, whether or not the citations will state specifically who you appeal to for which parts of what code and what the process is. I think that needs to be on all the forms. Just like if you get a parking ticket somewhere at the bottom, it usually says you have the right to appeal this and here's what you do or how you do it. So I think there still needs to be some fine tuning. That's just my opinion, but thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the board? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We had some comments about zoning in general, and I share that belief on that the government's robbed you of some of your property rights, but it's not this board that actually robbed you. It was the U.S. Supreme Court in a 1926 ruling called the Village of Euclid versus Ambler Realty, was where they upheld zoning. You might want to take a look at that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it is. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
I need a second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. On to item 70. Discussion and possible.
69.
69, we on? Yeah, I'm so sorry. I had the wrong one checked. 69, discussion and possible action to approve Mojave County Resolution 2024-075, which amends Mojave County Resolution 2020-178, specifying the function and duties of the Building Code Advisory Board. We do have same people. Jennifer, you might want to come down and stay here, so we'll probably end up saving a half hour just on your walks.
Pick a closer seat. Yeah, seats available in the front.
Yeah, I got Jennifer Esposito up first, and then Dave Johnson.
Again, thank you very much for your time. I oppose this. Under Section B, review of decision, the applicant may have a decision of the chief building official reviewed by the advisory board when it is claimed that such decision has been incorrectly interpreted. However, Mr. Smaby, the chief building official, has stated to the Planning and Zoning Board on public record that the board answers to him. So I just would like to remind this board of his opinion that they answer to him, even though it's technically not true. That's his belief. So you're appealing the decision of the chief building official to the board that he feels he has leverage over, which is kind of a conflict of interest. But again, it is an advisory board to the Development Services Department. It is not a board designed to adjudicate things that are not construction related, which may have things to do with the property maintenance code, which has things like you have to bag your chicken poop and whatnot. So I'm not sure that the review decision to them for apparently anything the chief building official may have been in error on, and he has been in error so many times it's not even funny, that I'm aware of. And then on the application for review, again, it says that it's like 2 weeks prior to a regular scheduled advisory board meeting, but it institutes the fee of $50 to, quote, defray the cost of staff expenses to prepare such related materials for a hearing. That is literally their job. Okay, you due process rights are something that are in the Arizona Constitution, the United States Constitution. The thought that this board or staff would recommend selling someone their due process, at some point you can appeal to Superior Court. And so if someone is financially challenged, they can have those fees either defrayed or completely, waived altogether. So if you're going after someone who is in a financial position where they may not even have $50 to appeal, since all of this stuff was instituted in 2003, I wonder how many people chose not to appeal even when they were in the right because they didn't have $50 to appeal. Assuming, well, why should I pay $50 I don't have and skip some meals because I'm appealing to the board or the people who are accusing me anyways and not a third-party impartial person. So I highly object to the $50 fee. And I'm not really sure that this particular board is the right one. At the end of the day, you guys set policy and, you guys should at some point, adjudicate over that. But I really do take objection to the $50 fee, and I do think there needs to be clarification as to what exactly their duties are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson.
Dave Johnson, 417 Kirkland in Golden Valley, Board. I object to this as well as, again, as a constituent of the board members here. I have no input as to who the people are that are going to review the complaint. And when you put in a request of information to the building department as to who these people are and what their qualifications are, all you get back is their names and what jobs they have. And then when you ask for further information, we do not collect that information, is what is told to you. So, again, who is going to supervise these people? Do we know if they're friends of somebody in the building department? Do we know if they're related to board members? It seems to me, rather than setting up an impartial review, you have the makeup of just somebody who approves of it because we're told so. And then the state has a procedure that you can follow to get, again, I'm sorry, to argue your position, but here it's by people that are unknown to us in the county, and then it goes directly to you for final. It doesn't go to an impartial board, as I understand it. Thank you.
Mr. Elters, would you give just a very quick answer to this question that keeps coming up about these are people that come out of nowhere on the advisors? Can you answer that?
Madam Chairman and board members, we have a process in place to vet. I'm sorry. We have a process in place to vet these individuals and check before it's brought to the board, and a board members makes a nomination and the rest of the board confirms it. So I'm not sure where these allegations are come from. Furthermore, if we are made aware of any improper relationship, questionable decisions, I guarantee you we act on them, whether it's a board member or a staff member. And so to step up and allege these things without any proof, I think is pretty irresponsible, to say the least.
Seems to be an idea that these people get together in some dark room somewhere and make these decisions, and that's not true at all. Everything has an oversight process and ultimately lands back up here for us, in front of us. So
yeah, Madam Chairman and board members, we do get notifications from county residents out there related to something questionable or improper. I assure you, with in every way I can, that we investigate each and every one of them, and proper action is taken when proper action should be taken.
all right, thank you. What's the pleasure of the board on this one?
I've got a question for staff.
Okay. Supervisor Gould?
Director Walsh, are you on the line?
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, what's an example of an other than unsafe building abatement?
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Gold, that's a great question. Other than a dangerous building, the Building Code Advisory Board will hear questions relating to the chief building official's decision. So if the chief building official interprets code a certain way and a contractor feels that that's improper or feels that there's an alternate interpretation, they can appeal to the Building Code Advisory Board. And just to provide a little bit additional background to the Building Code Advisory Board, there are 7 members on that board, and their specific fields identified in state statute. One is an architect, another is a professional engineer, another is a general contractor, and then we have people representing the public. There's a position, 2 positions, well, 1 position representing the public, and then it calls for a person engaged in electrical, mechanical, or plumbing trade. And then after that, there's 2 at-large members. And those positions are all selected or approved by the board to fill those specific positions. So if the chief building official makes a decision that does not that say a contractor feels is not accurate, he has the ability to appeal that decision to the Building Code Advisory Board. And all of those folks are professionals in the trade. They would be able to determine whether or not that interpretation is correct, and their decision would stand. So if they agree with the appellant, then that decision would stand, and that proposed method would be allowed. We've had we don't have many appeals regarding that, but one example would be some time back we had the methods for inspecting or testing the backfill for a basement. The chief building official, prior to our current chief building official, felt that a certain amount of testing was required every so many feet and in so many different locations around the lot. The contractor appealed that to the Building Code Advisory Board. They looked at all the facts and overturned the official's decision at the time and provided direction on how to perform that testing or what some acceptable methods for that testing would be. So other than, those are the types of scenarios other than abatements, yes.
It doesn't say other than abatements. It says other abatements, which I think was what's making it confusing, is the choice of the word other abatements.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's not intended for abatements. It's for decisions other than abatements, and we can make that revision.
Yeah, fix that language on there because it reads strange. And I agree that is what the Building Code Advisory Board is set to do, is when the International Building Code, which isn't really or it's only international because Canada uses it, has a problem that doesn't fit our area, doesn't fit the way that we do things, then those people can take a look at the building code and adjust the building code to fit our county needs.
That is correct.
So then the abatement of unsafe buildings. But if you could make those changes, that would be outstanding.
You bet. Will do.
Okay, anyone else? Yes,
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Lingenfelter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if I should direct this question to Attorney Esplin or to Director Walsh, but Ms. Esposito mentioned the right of due process, and it got me to thinking. I am a little bit curious about that. I'd like to explore it with regard to that $50 fee. I know that if somebody in Mojave County gets accused of a crime and they don't have the ability to pay for an attorney, that under indigent defense, they basically go through an honor system and say, hey, I can't pay, and they're provided an attorney. I know that's not a really good comparison, but if somebody wants to appeal and says they don't have the right to pay, do they have a right to due process?
Chairman Angus and Supervisor Lingenfelter, I think I would like to see I would like to see a provision in there that allows some kind of a waiver based on indigency. Whether it would comply with due process or not, I'd have to investigate it. I have to look to research the issue. I will note, take for example court. If you were to file a civil action in court, whether it be a classic civil lawsuit or perhaps a family domestic matter, you have to pay. You have to pay. But as Ms. Esposito pointed out, there are two mechanisms that are allowed. The court can either waive the fee or the court can defer the fee. Deferring the fee just means that they would pay it at a later time. Oftentimes they'll put them on a payment schedule. But even under that, you still have to pay a minimum of, I believe it's $28. So you pay $28 and then you file for an application for fee waiver or deferral. And then the court will decide whether to grant your fee waiver or deferral. They may deny the waiver. In fact, a lot of times the courts will not grant waivers. What they do is they grant deferrals, meaning they still have to pay those fees. And if you look at the court fees, anybody who's filed an action in court, that's hundreds of dollars. That's usually between $200, $300 that you're filing, and oftentimes they defer it. But even still, you still have to pay that it's like $26 or $28. So whether the $50 goes up to that, I'd have to research it, but you can easily put something in there that says, that can be deferred, just like what the courts do, defer it, and then defer it to the end of the case. And then that way they would have their day in court, or excuse me, they'd have their opportunity to go before the board. But then if they lose, then there could be something they would have to pay.
Thank you, Attorney Esplin. I think it's something that should just be explored at least. I mean, if it's whether it's something that comes to the board to decide, but to make it as fair as possible to everybody. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
I believe, isn't it true the courts owe us over $1 million or millions of dollars in unpaid fees that haven't been collected?
I don't know the answer to that, but I would imagine there's a substantial amount of unpaid fees. A lot of times those fees don't get paid.
And if these people don't pay their fees, if we start giving waivers, it just goes back to the other taxpayers to increase what they pay. So, you know, if you...
Okay, anyone else? Okay, what's the pleasure?
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve with the corrections or amendments that Supervisor Gold called attention to.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion
No.
carries.
No.
It's okay. That was 4-1. Number 70. From Community Services, discussion and possible action, identify a third project for FY 2024 Community Development Block Grant. Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Supervisors. Before you today, we bring back the CDBG. At the last time reporting, the board approved 2 projects, or 3 projects. The one project that was not approved was the Boys and Girl Scouts in Bullhead. That was because of the, due to ADOS, the Arizona Department of Housing, they needed to approve the contract. And the reason it was denied, Madam Chair and Board of Supervisors, is because it did not increase services by 25% to the people that were receiving services at the Boys and Girl Scouts. So before you today, there's 2 remaining eligible projects that could be chosen. The first being the one that we put forward for approval. And then the second project, which is, so the first one is Virgin River Domestic Water Improvement District, and then the Hatch Valley Domestic Water Improvement District. Those are the 2 remaining eligible projects, and staff, like I said, Madam Chair and Board of Supervisors, recommended the first.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Smith? Okay, what say you?
Motion to approve with staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Number 71, Public Health, approve the administrative system processes and FY25 request for promotional timeline and monies for the management and proposed disbursement of opioid settlement funding.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I hit him up with 25 while he's standing there.
Oh, okay. Let's go back to number 25. Supervisor Gould has requested that. Do you have that information that was asked?
Yes. Good morning, Board Supervisors. Was able to go and review and just get the specifics of what you requested. I did forward it to the board. Here is their 2022 tax form. Real quick, it says Local First Arizona Foundation, LFAF, provides community economic development programs and support to the people, businesses, and neighborhoods of communities throughout Arizona. Just to read over what they were founded by Kimberly Lanning in 2003. 2005, they became a 501c6. In 2009, a 501c3. Some of the funding sources, so it appears it's all donations. Services that help research opportunities, identity, and connect funding sources to communities in need. Grant writing, facilitation, and management projects are provided at no charge because of sponsorship funding provided by the state of Arizona, Vitalis Health Foundation, Freeport McMorran Foundation, SRP, Arizona Complete Health, Arizona Community Foundation, and Arizona Generation and Transmission Cooperatives. I believe the previous ones, we also saw some from the Arizona Lottery and a few other places they collect. This is a completely 100% appears Arizona homegrown economic development opportunity for small businesses and nonprofits to be able to provide growth for individuals, from young couples. On her page, she said to me it was her initial impulse to keep individuals, to promote local businesses and stores and nonprofits to grow within Arizona. And so with this, it was through economic development. So with that, we approached them, and they said we could have 4 grants a year that they would write for us. The grant we had them write for them, was for a substance abuse and mental health services administration, and it was for SAMHSA grant, and it is a grant for mental health, growth for mental health grant here within Mojave County.
Thank you, sir. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Dr. Kingsley. So we got that. 72. Sitting as the Board of Directors of Horizon 6 Improvement District, set a public hearing for May 6, 2024.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 73. Sitting as the Board of Directors for the Golden Valley Improvement District, acknowledge Arizona Department of Environmental Quality's adequate water supply determination of 2,350 acre-feet per year, consisting of 1,400 acre-feet for current and committed demands under GVID's 6,200 service connections. We do have a couple of people signed up for this. Ms. Esposito, and then Mr. Esposito, and then Mr. Johnson.
Hang on, let me find it here. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer Esposito. For the people who are at home and are not maybe looking at the supporting documents, basically in the supporting documents, under the summarize the issues and desired actions, it says that that in 2006, the Board of Directors approved changes to Section 2.3 of the district's policies and procedures, number 90-1, for reasons unknown to staff. Public Works did not update the changes made to Section 2.3 in 2006. In 2008, the Board made changes to Section 2.3, which is the current version of Section 2.3. Staff recommends making changes to Section 2.3 to conform with the changes the Board adopted in 2006. So basically, this is just highlights another issue where staff dropped the ball. You guys approved something, staff didn't follow up, didn't get it done. Now, all these years later, magically, oopsie, we caught another mistake that this staff made and didn't get right. Which again, highlights to me why staff is not doing a better job than 5 of us who applied to run the GVID could do. I mean, only you in your executive session know what was discussed, why you tabled that. But, a lot of the argument has been made that, well, you couldn't, 5 grown adults who are completely competent in the real world couldn't possibly do a better job than staff, except staff isn't doing a very good job at all. So obviously, I would support conforming this item to what was approved in 2006, being that this is 2024. But it shouldn't take staff that long to figure things out and get it right. And please, for the love of God, give us our board. Thank you.
Mr. Esposito?
Jeff Esposito, Kingman. All right, so this is obviously because of the confusion on the procedures manual and stuff. So this shows the need for this board to turn the Golden Valley Improvement District operations oversight over to a full-time citizens board rather than what has been a part-time oversight condition. This board pushed this proposition out until October, I believe. Funny timing, to be sure, remembering that the proposed Golden Valley Angle Homes subdivision was maneuvering behind the scenes quietly until the proposition forced them out into the light. Very interesting to say the least. GVID citizens are watching and paying attention. Turn the board over. In fact, push it up from October.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Dave Johnson, Golden Valley. I must apologize to the board for not knowing what all of this mumbo jumbo is, but to me, it sounds like you're trying to change something to allow Angle Homes to build 3,000 homes within the GVID district. It would be helpful if a little more information than that vague wording that you put on the schedule, on the agenda. It was pointed out to me that to get a full explanation of the agenda items is available, and I apologize for not knowing. Thank you.
You got it. And you can also, at any time, call your supervisor if you have questions. Thank you. All right. So this is item 73, right?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. What's the pleasure?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 74, deny the request to adopt Board of Supervisors Resolution 2024-081 for the extinguishment of the east 125-foot of the 25-foot wide public utility and drainage easement along the south line of Lot 1 of First Corrected Final Plat of Arizona Gateway.
Motion to approve the denial.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That's 4-1. Denial. Number 75, acknowledge receipt of and refer to Public Works a petition for the Mojave County Board of Supervisors requesting that South Greller Road from West Bolsa Drive to West Chur Drive located in the Golden Valley area be accepted for tertiary maintenance. We do
Motion
have...
to approve.
Okay, we do have one person signed up. Mr. Johnson, did you get the information you need? 75. It's just a referral. Okay, that's fine. So we have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion. Okay, that was 4-1. Number 76, by Human Resources, approve the exemptions to general fund hiring freeze.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 77, determine the process for the selection of the clerk of the board. To direct staff to set a cutoff date, to accept applications for the position, determine the number of candidates, determine whether the Board of Supervisors or a selection committee should interview the potential candidates. Who wants to start? Do you want to say something, Supervisor Alter? I'm a supervisor. I demoted you.
Madam Chairman and board members, this is really just an opportunity for us to tell staff of your preference. In a nutshell, it really boils down to you've received now a couple of dozens applications. I think you would agree there are some that are more qualified than others. Would you like to have one-step interview process or two-step interview process? Would you like a panel of department heads to do the initial? Would you like to do all of them? It's truly for you to tell us so we can assist you in carrying on and getting to the finish line of the board having a candidate to appoint permanently for the clerk of the board.
Does anybody have any comments or suggestions, this board? Supervisor Bishop?
Actually, I would like to see a selection committee look at these applications and just forward us the top 5 and set a cutoff date. I think we have plenty of applications now where we could make a good selection with what we currently have.
Okay.
Maybe, and we make the cutoff date, say, this coming Friday?
How does everybody else feel?
I liked when we did, I forget who we were hiring, but the supervisors looked at who had applied, and then we picked who we wanted to interview, and then the supervisors interviewed those people.
Right. I agree with you because that particular position works for the board.
Right.
So I think it is our job to do that. So do you have any input into how we're going to do the clerk of the board position?
Madam Chair, I think that it's on this board to shortlist and then interview.
Okay, so anyone want to take a stab at this?
So then with that said, and that's great, that's what we will do. Is this coming Friday an acceptable cutoff date for the board? And then what we can do is, once you decide which candidates you'd like to interview, we can contact them on your behalf. We can schedule with you a day or dates that you would be available either before a board meeting or an after, and then make the appointments for the contact them on your behalf, schedule the interviews, and so on.
Yeah, like we kind of usually do. But so the question is 3 or 5 candidates per supervisor. I don't remember what we did last time, frankly, but I don't think we had as many as we have for this particular position. Supervisor Johnson, you have any opinion on this?
I guess if you're gonna do it that way, just say each supervisor can pose up to 3 people.
How's that sound? Sound good?
And in that case, if there is overlap,
Right.
then obviously it will, if 2 supervisors propose to same people, then it would be recognized as such, and we would just collect the total.
Right.
And schedule the interviews.
It doesn't mean
By
they have to
when?
promote or propose 3 if there's somebody highly qualified.
Right. And by what date would that be?
What we included in the backup, Madam Chair, would be use either this Friday or the next Friday. If you use this Friday, then we can target the first board meeting in May to do the interviews, and we can do them before or after. And if the board selects, let's say, 10 or more, it may take longer. We could do them on the day of the board meeting, but after the board meeting, or do that day and the following day. Just whatever works with your schedules.
All right. So this is just direction. This doesn't take any board motion, does it?
It would be great if you
Does?
could,
Okay.
tell us that you want to do the cutoff date for example, this Friday, and then if it's okay for the May 8th board meeting, and then the day after, or at least make the motion to give us the flexibility to work with you and serve you and set it up.
All right, who wants to?
I move that each supervisor shall select up to 3 candidates to be interviewed by the Board of Supervisors, and that the cutoff date for applications be this Friday, and that staff will coordinate the meeting to interview the applicants.
Okay.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion?
Madam
You look
Chair.
perplexed, Supervisor Johnson.
So they're setting up the date we're gonna interview them, or we're not doing that? What's our convenience?
You can do that if you want.
Or just, I would guess if they came back to us, in case there's a conflict between the 5 of us, are they gonna interview those people first and then come to us?
No, they're just going to schedule the meeting. We can
Set a
pick.
date.
We can pick a date that you want to do it after the
Maybe after
April
they
meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to make sure we're all available.
And
Wait, I think we have a second involved.
I'll retract my motion.
and that we will meet following the April 1st meeting to interview the candidates.
April. First meeting in May.
May meeting?
May 1st.
First meeting in May.
The first meeting is May 6th.
May 6th.
May 6th.
Okay, thank you.
I will second.
Okay, we got a motion second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 78. Approve or deny the appeal of notice in order to abate of assessor's parcel number 324-05-098. Our last speakers today, Mr. DeSazier, come on down. Then Jennifer Esposito, and then Scott. Oh, we have the applicant, so maybe we should have the applicant first.
I'd like to actually speak first on it.
Wait. Hold on there. I'll get to you. Okay.
Because I have some interesting information that may change things, if I could speak first.
I would rather have the applicant speak first.
It's not even actually, okay.
All right, Mr. Ruppel. Can you come on down? Is that you? Oh, I see. You're in a mobile device.
Gentleman in the back.
Got it. Okay. Okay. All right, I got it. Should maybe.
You have a hand fill.
You could speak now with your handheld microphone.
Okay.
Okay, so what did you want to tell us? You're the applicant. You signed up to speak.
Can I get some help? What am I supposed to say? Okay. County, code enforcement came over and they were going to take my worldly possessions, but that's another case. Then the house, it's a trailer. It fell down 15 years ago. And the nursing home has a $98,000 lien on the house. So I think it's the nursing home's problem, right?
I'm not sure. Maybe it would be helpful if we had development services kind of take us along with you on this. So we understand it, so you don't have to, have pressure to tell us the whole thing. Tim, is Mr. Walsh around?
Yes,
You
Chairman.
can stay there, though. Okay, you want to explain this to us, please?
You bet. Chairman Angus, members of the board, we have, as the applicant mentioned, we've had a zoning violation on the property and have been pursuing a zoning violation, an accumulation of junk and debris. Upon basically following up on that zoning violation, our investigators found a structure that has already begun to fall in on itself. They notified our building department. Building department took some photos and identified the dangerous as a dangerous building. We cited, or basically notified the owner there of the dangerous building and issued a notification that it needed to be fixed, or we would be abating it. And he has appealed that decision of it being a dilapidated building. So on this case, it was brought through 11268. One, because there was ongoing modifications to the building code that were just approved previously. So we went through 11268. Also, we have an 11268 case for a zoning violation on the property. So we went through 11268, and through 11268, it would be appealed to the Board of Supervisors. So the dilapidated building determination by the chief building official is being appealed. I do have the chief building official, Gilbert Smaby, online as well, who can share some of the photographs of the property and the reason for his determination of a dangerous building or a dilapidated building.
If they have any questions for you. Nothing? Okay. Did that sum it up, Mr. Ruppel?
I don't know what he said.
Okay.
I'm
Why don't we do this? Why don't you move over? I don't want to, you have to go all the way back up, and there's a few other people who wish to speak. So if you can just move over to the side a bit, and if there are questions, we'll bring you back up. Okay. We have Mr. DeShazer now.
Chuck DeShazer from Topeka, Arizona. I've spoken with the applicant before this hearing and have a somewhat of an understanding. But I guess what he has told me is, one, he doesn't own the property, so you're hearing an appeal from somebody that doesn't own the property. Two, he's told me that there's a $98,000 lien against the property by a nursing home from the previous owner that went into a nursing home. And through the title search, it would be my understanding that Development Services should have notified anybody that had an interest in this property, including a $98,000 lien against the property, to see if they wanted to protect their interest in any way before proceeding further. And then the new owner, it would have to start all over again, just because it's my understanding that it's in the recorder's office. The sale has already happened, but has not been recorded at this particular moment, is what I'm being told. Other than that, I would like to also point out on this whole abatement issue and everything else, what I was trying to get across earlier. Obviously, none of the board listened to anything that I had to say, because item 68 is exactly what Mr. Gould brought up, to change the language to Tim Walsh as item 69. Item 69, there is no language to change.
Please stay on
That's
this.
what I'm trying to say, is that
This says, point of order,
Yeah.
we're not talking about item 68 or 69, we're talking about this appeal.
Okay, well, you obviously don't listen to anybody that stands up here, because you voted through stuff that you didn't
Okay.
understand. So
If there's nothing else, Mr. DeShazer. Okay, Jennifer Esposito.
Thank you, Jennifer Esposito, once again. Basically, I signed up to speak because it was also my understanding that the gentleman in the wheelchair here is not the property owner, so therefore he would not have legal standing to bring an appeal, and he would not be the proper person to hold accountable in this particular instance. So, you know, how you guys decide to deal with this is, you know, obviously up to you. But if in fact he is not the current property owner today as we stand here, then, you know, you guys, it needs to be referred back or something else. And it does sort of bring up the question of why staff did,
Okay,
you know,
let's
has brought
find
us
out,
here.
okay,
So,
before we
so
go on
that's,
with
that's all I wanted to say, is that, you know, staff should have notified if there was a lien holder.
Let's find out
and
if it's
stuff.
staff,
So-
what staff is
Okay,
up
I'm
to. Let's
sorry.
give them
I
their-
thought I
let's
still
give
had
them their
2
right.
minutes. Silly me.
I'm not even going to go there.
Chairman, if I can
Yes,
address some of
please.
those. So, just kind of timeline here. Let me pull up real quick the case. I believe the appeal. Let's see. The notice was issued. Let me get that real quick. The dates here are important. So the notice was sent, looks like sometime around March 22nd. A notice and order was issued, and then this gentleman filed a notice of appeal. So he's the one that's asking for appeal. He filed it, I believe, on the 25th is when he filed it, and we were told that he was trying to transfer the property or whatnot, and so I asked, well, can you show me any documents? The documents that have been given to me, I've got one that's recorded. This is recorded on March 25th as well. It's got Scott Ruppel, and it's not conveying it to anybody. I'm looking here and I'm looking at this, and we, Scott Ruppel, do hereby quit claim to, and then the line is blank.
So how
it's
did
not even-
Mr. Ruppel get involved in this?
Well, I don't, well, it's his property. He owns the property, and apparently he was trying to, we believe that he was trying to get out of this by quit claiming it to something else or somebody else, and we don't have anything showing that he did. All we have is a quit claim deed showing that he signed his name to convey it, but it doesn't have to who. But so one, we don't have any information right now that it's actually owned by somebody else. The only information we have right now is that it is owned by Mr. Ruppel. That's all the information we have. The second part of this is, we are giving Mr. Ruppel due process. We're giving him an opportunity to present his case, make his arguments. If you were to go along with what Mr. DeShazer and Ms. Esposito are saying, they're saying, don't give this person an appeal. I mean, you think about the logical steps that you're saying here. You would take away this person's appeal. We want to give this person an opportunity to go before the board and make his case and make his arguments. The board can say approve or deny, but that still will not change the fact that we will then have to address the property issue. So our recommendation is to give him an opportunity to present his case. Don't take it away. Give him that chance. Then we will address if he still owns it or not. Then we'll have to determine whether we can go forward or not. We may or may not be able to. We may be able to or may not. But we can say on the date that we issued this notice to abate, he was the property owner. And to date, we still don't have any information to show that he's not the property owner.
Okay. Mr. Ruppel, do you want to address any of that real quick? You can just speak from there.
Okay, like I said, I did a quick claim deed, and Swanson had upstairs on the second floor. Swanson pushed the deed through. I got the copies. I got the quick claim deed here.
I'd be happy to look at it.
Okay.
I'd be happy to look at it. But the one that I have
to do with what we're here today for.
Yeah.
I think that the board should still go forward with it because at the time he was the property owner,
Okay.
and he can still have his appeal. Whether we can go forward with the abatement and he's no longer the property owner, that will be a different
right.
question.
So what does the board want to do now?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is District 1. Just one question for Mr. Esplin. If you look on GIS, the property is now owned by Larry Ellis. He has not been involved in this process at all.
So, Supervisor Lingenfelter, I don't have any documents showing that he owns it.
Well, I'm looking on the Mojave GIS right now, and I pulled up
that's the
the
only one.
address and the parcel number. It says Larry A. Ellis Jr. owns property at 3729 East Ryan Avenue.
Probably hasn't caught up.
What's the date?
You have a copy of the deed?
Got the number.
Can we continue
Okay.
this?
I can look at that.
Let's
I'd be happy to
continue
look at
this.
it.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah.
just continue it for one meeting.
Yeah, let's continue this for the next meeting and get all the information,
Why not
okay?
just let him have his appeal and handle it then?
Hold on a sec.
I'd like to just postpone it
So,
one meeting. The condition of the property,
real quick.
it's irrefutable. It's in horrible condition. Somebody needs to take care of it. But I want to look into this a little bit further.
So this is the
Okay,
deed that I have.
so we have a motion to continue this to our next board meeting?
Chairman Angus,
Yes.
if I may, sorry to interrupt. I just would like to point out that Larry Ellis was identified as an interested party in this and was notified regarding the case.
Oh, he was.
So why? So,
Madam Chair,
yes.
Director Walsh, can you tell me when Mr. Ellis was involved? Because I want to make sure that, if he was involved.
Yes, I've got, thank you. Chairman
just
Angus,
in-
Supervisor Lingenfeld. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Just in March of 24, he was involved?
Yes, I've got Gilbert Smaby, the chief building official, is online. He called me during this discussion and mentioned that Mr. Ellis was identified as an interested party and was notified during the notification process. And I've got Gilbert online. He
That's
can
okay, I don't need
confirm
him. Madam Chair, I'd like to postpone for one meeting. I'd like to give Mr. Ellis an opportunity to come and defend his property at the next meeting.
Okay. We have a motion. I'll second that. Any
Discussion,
further discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I don't know if this would be for the attorneys or not, but looking at the backup, I've never seen come before the board before one that had everything checked as being in such poor condition. Do we have any kind of, have we locked everybody out of this property? We have a gentleman coming up in front of us who says he doesn't own the property anymore, but obviously, is he still living there? We have some responsibility for kids and those kind of people that get in there. And we have to start a process, not that we start today, we're going to, I don't know if we're padlocking the place or not.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I could ask Director Walsh, if he's still on the line, has this property been chained and locked off, or what's the, we can't tell people, I don't think, with their private property exactly what to do, but has there been anything to, as far as to protect the counties, as from a liability standpoint? Because this property is in horrible condition. I've driven past it. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it.
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Lingenfelter, Supervisor Johnson, the property, we have not chained off the property or stopped any access there, but we have posted it as condemned. We've posted it condemned, no occupancy. My understanding is that Mr. Ruppel does still reside there, to my understanding, but I don't know that for sure. That would be something that we could confirm with him.
And if I could provide some additional information too, there's two parts to this. One was a zoning violation that our office filed through court, and we received a court order to abate the violations, to abate the property, not the structure, but to abate the property. Mr. Ruppel then filed a notice of appeal. He did not pursue that appeal, so the appeal was dismissed. So we have a valid order to abate it, and we were ready to go into it, but the Superior Court recently set a date for a status conference on April 10th. Our intentions are to go to that status conference on April 10th, at which time we'll be arguing for the authority to go into his property to abate the property, but not the structure. That structure is separate. The structure is what is being heard today. It was not part of the original case. So hopefully after April 10th, we'll be able to then be authorized to abate the property, but not the structure. The structure is something different. The structure is the one that's being heard today.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Esplin, when we become notified of a hazardous situation like this, when does it become our liability if we don't do something on it? Especially if we think there's somebody still living there. Obviously, it's open to anybody else that walks in.
Well, you would have to look at when does our duty arise. I don't know the answer when our duty arises, but I will say that we're doing everything we can within our powers as quickly as possible to abate the nuisance that's on there. As far as the other building is concerned, that's why we brought this before today. I mean, it's not like we're delaying it. We are bringing it before this board, and we're asking the board to deny the appeal. I think giving it another week or 2 weeks or so is perfectly acceptable, but with the understanding that we're moving as quickly as we can. As to when that duty arises, I don't know.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Attorney Esplin, is it legally allowable to postpone this for until our next board meeting to allow Mr. Ellis an opportunity to come and defend? Because Mr. Ruppel is having some difficulty this morning defending this. I want to make sure that we give an opportunity to Mr. Ellis to defend if it's legally allowable.
Absolutely. That's perfectly fine. And
that's all I'm asking.
If I may just expound on this, Chairman.
Okay.
I just want to point out, so this is the first time now we've seen this second quitclaim deed. This quitclaim deed was submitted after the notice. So I have concerns about the transfer of property and why property is being transferred when there's a notice here, and also whether this is a valid transfer or not. There's a lot of concerning things that are arising with this, and it's something that we'll talk with staff about. But there are concerns just about how this is being transferred after there's been a notice to abate.
Well, more the reason than to continue it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Supervisor Bishop.
According to the clerk of the board, the recorder's office shows Mr. Ruppel as the current owner of the property. So whether or not there's paperwork that shows different, it has not been recorded. And I think the more that we put this off, the more liability falls on this board if something happens. If Mr. Ruppel goes back and lives there and the structure falls on top of him, then I think this board could be held liable for not taking immediate action on this as it's brought forward.
Mr. Ruppel, do you live in this property? Do you still live there? Just say.
Two buildings on that property.
Okay, but do you live on that property somewhere?
There's two lots. There's two lots joining.
Okay. Well,
so
all right.
I'm on the other lot. I never went in that house. Maybe once a month I go in that house.
All right, we're going to figure this out.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I believe you seconded my motion. If I could call for the question, and if it gets defeated, that's fine.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue this to our next Board of Supervisor meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
I apologize. I had it written down as continue for 30 days, so.
No, next meeting.
Next
Thank
meeting.
you.
Okay, well, we just passed the motion, so you'll have an opportunity to speak again. We're done with this motion. Mr. Ruppel.
Got a man wanting to
We'll talk to you. You can talk to your supervisor because we're done with it right now. Okay? So if you would please just move to the side so we can continue our meeting.
Can I go home?
If you want.
But I have a man
I'm holding you.
Okay.
Don't give
All
him
right, so
permission
that's-
to go home to this building, though.
He just said he's not. He says he doesn't live there. Okay.
Said once a month.
79, this is brought to us by Travis Lingenfelter, duties and functions of the Mojave County PIO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I put this on the agenda simply to voice that, I think that Mojave County really needs to prioritize communicating with its citizens much more than we currently are through a PIO function, with a consistent stream of information. If you look at online media, for instance, I think a lot of people get their news from there. I just did a quick check of the Mojave County Facebook page before the meeting. There were 2 posts in March. There were 2 posts in February. And then you skip to November 2023. There was 1 post in November 2023. And then there was 2 posts in September of 2023. I think that PIO function is valuable only if it's out there providing a consistent stream of information and content. There's been a lot of things that Mojave County has done. The shift to full option of electronic plan review, a lot of different things that just haven't made it onto the page as far as information to the public. I think we can do better.
Okay.
That's why I raise it.
Very good. Is this something that I believe we'll be discussing at our budget workshop, whether or not we want to continue with this kind of PO or PIO at all? So what did you foresee happening on this?
Well, I know that we're getting into the budget, so I wanted to bring this issue to everybody's attention. The District 1 office sees it as concerning. We need to do a better job with a PIO function if we're going to have one. If we're not, if it's going to be status quo, then the District 1 office won't support funding it further.
I agree with that as well. Anyone else want to weigh in? Is there any action to be taken on this?
No action.
Okay. It's just a statement. And the last one is ARPA request number 80 from my office, an amount of $80,000 to Bullhead City Fire towards the purchase and replacement of the 1993 fire safety trailer. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If there's nothing else, we're adjourned.